Speaking of getting to the bottom of things, we've got Steven in Illinois who says he grew up in a haunted house. Steven.
Hello.
What happened, man?
Oh, man, a lot of stuff. Do you want me to start from like the beginning story or the creepiest thing?
Hit us with the craziest.
The best one you got. The most convincing.
The most convincing one. We were all, my whole family, my dad, was recently divorced. First off, excuse me, I just got off work. I just got home. I haven't eaten. I don't sleep well ever.
No worries, dude.
Just well last night.
Just hit us with the best one. We'll listen.
Okay. So just bear with me a little bit. So my dad is recently divorced. We're downstairs. We're getting ready to go to a family party. We kept all our clean clothes on a table, folded at a little coffee table downstairs. There's a TV set. My dad had a big old radio, big old stereo system, nice stereo system. He's always loved music. He was sitting on the computer, which was, if you look down from walking in my side door, you look down the stairs, you could see the TV. The computer is where your feet would be. He was sitting right there at the computer. We were all picking out our clothes for the night, me and my 3 sisters, picking out our clothes for the night for the party, getting ready to go. And we're sitting there, he's on the computer. Out of nowhere, the speaker turns on, full blast, full volume, and we all kind of are looking at each other like, what the hell's going on? And like some weird voice starts coming in, like very creepy. The creepiest sounding voice you can imagine is the voice that was on this stereo. And it just started like very unintelligibly talking, whispering stuff with like some weird uneasy music playing. And then it said, someone's in your house, get out. And then it turned off. And everybody heard it. My dad heard it. My dad was the type, he witnessed it. He witnessed a lot of things, but he would never admit it. He is a hard-headed man, and the house is haunted. I think he knows, but he would never say it, you know.
I mean, there's a number of things it could be. I'm not going to say what it definitely was, because I obviously
It could have been a prank. Believe me. Listen.
It sounds like someone's fucking with you.
Your name is...
I'm Thomas.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Thomas?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I simply said, like, it sounds like someone was messing with you, because that's the type of thing I would
totally
do.
Like a
just
prank.
like, yeah.
I'm sorry, we can't talk at the same time. But yeah, I've considered that. Believe me, I've considered every experience I have. I considered maybe I'm mental, maybe I'm schizophrenic. I don't know. But I'm telling you, these things happened to me, and they were very real.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen.
I know I'm not going to convince you, Thomas. It doesn't seem like I could possibly convince you of anything. Like UFOs, I'm surprised that you don't believe that there's another life form out there.
I think that there probably is out there somewhere. I know a little bit too much about distances between stars, that like even if you're traveling at the speed of light, like we've only been around broadcasting out, you know, television and radio signals, and like the strength of those signals gets, you know, exponentially weaker with the inverse squared law. So like for aliens to even know that we're here and broadcasting, they would have to be within like maybe 100 light years of us. And, you know, they'd have to have faster than light travel if they wanted to get to us in that amount of time. We haven't really seen any signs of life on any habitable planets within that sphere, you know? So it's possible, you know, they could have some incredible, crazy high tech, you know, technology that allows them to, you know, create wormholes and travel through the galaxy and spot us and know where to go and find us and stuff instantly like that. It's possible. But then, like, why would they show up as something that can be mistaken for other stuff, and that, you know, they don't land and actually make first contact and you know, live among us and send messages, and it's broadcast all over TV, but it's instead just these things that people see while they're taking psychedelics late at night, or that can be mistaken for other stuff.
It never happens in Times Square. It's always like in the woods.
Yeah.
It's for those reasons, I'm like, yeah, it's highly unlikely that life only evolved on Earth. Maybe it's just extremely rare that life happens.
What do you think of Area 51? Do you think it's just government?
I think
Like
Roswell
they've
Capitol.
there's
gotten
actually-
too far with
there's-
technology and they haven't told the public type of thing. Like
No,
there
there's
is
actually a
UFOs, but
really
it's probably
good.
just the U.S. military.
There's a physics lecture from someone who I believe worked on the Los Alamos project called at Berkeley University called Physics for Future Presidents, and he has a really long lecture explaining Roswell, and he talks about the sound channel both in the air and in the water, and how they would use the sound channel to basically pinpoint and locate where crashed airplanes were in the water. Because what you do is you take a sphere, you throw it off the side, it sinks down to the sound channel where sound waves can travel for miles, and it's like the density of the water above and below it cause it to just travel. And they'd have buoys that they would locate where crashed pilots would be, because they drop these little spheres that once they hit this point where there was so much water pressure right in the sound channel, they would implode or they'd crush, send out this cracking noise, and they'd be able to use triangulation with these buoys to go and pick up the pilots. Well, the same thing is the case. This is during World War II. Well, after World War II, hear me out, because it will take like a minute or so for me to explain this. But after World War II, there's a sound channel actually in the atmosphere too. And so when the nuclear tests were going off, with the nuclear bombs during World War II, and then afterwards the Soviets were trying to get nuclear bombs, the U.S. was like, how can we how can we determine whether or not they've tested nuclear weapons, whether or not they have nukes? This was highly, highly, highly classified stuff at the time, not so much anymore because the Cold War is over. But they had these. It wasn't a weather balloon. Like this announcement that it was a weather balloon isn't true, but it was a balloon that had these discs that were listening to the sound channel, and they had multiple of them, and they'd use trigonometry based off of like when the sound hits different points to pinpoint where the nukes were going off, how far away they were, whether or not they had nuclear weapons. And so when one of these crashed in Roswell, the government at first, they were like, not every branch always talks with the other branches and says exactly what they're doing that's classified. It's a need to know basis. So some of them were just like, it's who knows what it is. Some of them
comes from. You're saying like that's why they lied, because they couldn't.
Oh yeah, they hardcore lied. They hardcore lied, and they covered it up, and they because they don't want to say what it was. But it was like years later that this was declassified, and when you know the physics behind it and how it works, it makes perfect sense that they would have this system in place. And like that's what crashed. And if you look at like the pictures of it and stuff, it's exactly the type of technology that they were using to detect nuclear weapons.
Okay.
As far as the alien bodies and stuff, that was a tape.
You know your stuff, obviously. I'm not going to convince you of anything. But I also have an experience where I saw a UFO.
Yeah, and I've had experiences.
Young, and believe me, I thought I was probably too young, and I was like hallucinating. I went through all of it, but I did see it, and it wasn't like your typical flying saucer. It was like a star. It was shaped like a triangle, and it was just like flying in a way that a regular aircraft wouldn't fly. But it was very high. It looked like a star, but it was moving.
I feel like we've gotten a little bit off topic from the ghost stuff. I'm not sure if you wanted to go more down the UFO or more down the haunted house.
Well, yeah, right. We could do both ways. I would rather do the haunted house, but like I said, there's no convincing you, so it's more just me telling my
I wish you would stop saying that. I wish you would stop saying that.
I'll tell you what would convince me. And I'm sorry, Kenneth, I cut you off. I'll give you more time. But what would convince me is if someone says, hey, there is alien life that has visited our planet, show me the alien. Show me the alien. Like,
dude, are you an atheist too? You don't believe in any spirituality? Like you have nothing?
First of all, that's completely irrelevant to this. Like that has absolutely nothing. I'm talking strictly about, and this
doesn't have anything to do with UFOs, obviously. But I'm talking about the ghost thing. Like, are you just gonna tell me I was hallucinating after I tell the story, or?
Well, this applies to whether you are a Christian, whether you are an atheist, whether you're a Muslim. Doesn't matter. Across the board, when you hear a claim that is an extraordinary claim, you should ask for extraordinary evidence. And if there are competing hypotheses that can explain it, you should look at the one that makes the fewest assumptions outside of what we know about the world.
I want to send you a video that I think would convince you, and you could run it through Photoshop could run it through. You could check for Photoshop, do whatever you have to do, and I think you'd be like, oh shit. Maybe not convince you, but you'd just be like, oh, holy shit.
Maybe I've been too deep in the world of magic and, you know, seeing magic tricks to know that just because I don't know how something works, it doesn't mean it's supernatural.
Yeah, I guess so.
There's a lot of tricks I've had a hard time explaining until someone showed me how simple it was, and I was like, oh my god, I'm really dumb. Like, I should be more skeptical.
So okay, you should video if you you don't believe in anything? You like nothing happens when you die type of thing?
Don't believe in anything. How do we get to don't believe in anything? Listen,
I believe that when I die, that the people, in the words of Keanu Reeves, the people who are still left behind will miss me. Hopefully.
Okay.
Sorry, Kenneth, go ahead.
So here's what I'm wondering, okay? So the call screen thing said you grew up in a haunted house. The story was you're hanging out with your family and the stereo goes on and some creepy sound and shit plays over the stereo. I wanna ask
it's a crazy
you,
story. I sound crazy. I do.
No, it doesn't sound crazy. That does not sound like a crazy story. I have experienced electronics going off in my house. I'll tell you this, in my bedroom, okay? There's a ceiling fan that in the middle of the night will sometimes just turn on. I'm laying there, I'm trying to sleep, and it just goes on. And I think I know why. Is because I am a cheap guy who tried to install the ceiling fan myself, and I'm a shitty electrician, okay? I know that it's on a remote control, and what are the odds that other people in my neighborhood might have a similar frequency on a remote control, and they're doing something, and it turns on my...
that far? I don't know. It's probably...
I don't know either.
Dude. I don't know.
See, but this is the thing. So if the claim that you're trying to convince us or anyone of
I'm not trying to convince. I just want to tell my story, but it seems like the last guy told the story, and he kind of like made fun of a little bit. I don't care. I don't mind that.
I'm trying to make a really specific point with you.
I'm just asking Thomas.
If
I want to know
Thomas
more about Thomas because he
Thomas and I both
with the last guy. So I want to know.
So Thomas and I both want to believe true things. And you kept saying over and over again that nothing you could say would convince us. But the thing is, if ghosts are real, if you've got a story that is evidence of that, then we're going to follow you there. We want to believe true things. But the thing is that evidence, by definition, is anything that can be used to demonstrate that a claim is true. Okay? And a story about a radio going on and then being like, I don't understand why that happened. How do you go from that to the claim ghosts are real is true?
Right. Okay. I understand that's not how you convince people of things, but
well, I just
that's not what I'm really talking about. I'm not trying to convince you of anything is the point I'm trying to get at.
Well,
I'm trying to talk to Thomas more about himself and why he is the way he is.
I think Thomas and I are probably on the same page with our like evidentiary standards and how we approach this stuff as skeptics.
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you why I'm skeptical. Because I've seen time and time and time again where I've seen hoaxes, and I'm a video editor. I know exactly how to make half of this stuff. I know how to spot half of this stuff if it's a video hoax. I know that our eyes deceive us. I know that our brains deceive. Hold up. You asked me why I am the way that I am, and then you didn't even stop for like a 2-second response. I know that our memories are garbage. I know that our memories change with time. Yeah. I know that people in general have we're really bad at accepting false positives and going with eyewitness testimony and second and third hand accounts, and that there's people right now who are rotting in prison because they were put away on an eyewitness testimony only to be exonerated decades after the fact with DNA evidence. My point is that if an extraordinary claim is going to be brought up, I'm not emotionally opposed to believing in aliens. I'm not emotionally opposed to believing in ghosts. And for most of my life, I did believe in, angels and demons and, God and, all sorts of, I believed in aliens and UFOs.
What I'm telling you is I thought I was going on the show to have like an emotional conversation, but obviously not. That's the only point I was trying to make. I'm trying to learn more about Thomas and his argumentative ways. And I'm trying to talk to Thomas about that. I want to challenge him to something.
But this isn't a show. This isn't a show about, hey, let's give Thomas therapy and try to, make him more emotional and less scientific. Like, this is a show where you call in and you present arguments for why you think that something is reasonable to believe a supernatural claim, and we examine it with you.
Just gonna say that story's bullshit, and that's easy to do. How easy is that?
You were
I can
muted
do
at the
that.
beginning.
Who? Nobody. And he wasn't muted. I think he's cutting out. Nobody said your story was bullshit, man.
What's bullshit?
Nobody said your story was bullshit. Nobody said that.
Oh, okay. No, I'm just saying it's easy to do. Because that's the only evidence I have. So I'm going to tell you a story, and you're going to say, no, I'm not saying you said that it was bullshit. No, I'm not saying. It could have been a prank. It could have been a number of things. I know that. It could have just been a malfunction. Who knows?
But that's what I'm trying to get you to think about, man. What is the story evidence of?
And I like to think about that. Right? What is the story?
What is the story evidence of?
Something that day was up that I can't explain. That's all that it is. Really, that's all it's evidence of. But something happened that I couldn't explain, and it's affected me to where I remember it 15 some odd years later. That's all it's about. That's all these stories are about. It's not evidence. I don't think it's evidence. I just think they're stories that happened to me that I'm being truthful and telling the truth about, but it's not evidence.
I don't doubt it. I think that you're, I give you the benefit of the doubt that you're an honest person and that you're sharing something that you actually experienced. And it would be incredibly forward and rude of me to say that you didn't have this experience or that the last few callers didn't have their experience. I'm simply saying that when we approach claims of any, nature that are extraordinary claims that aren't demonstrated satisfactorily with evidence, we should maybe reserve judgment and say, I don't know, like that was kind of wild. Here's some possible explanations, or maybe I don't know any possible explanations.
What I do. Yes, let's
explore and find out.
Like about this. That's cool.
Let's find out together.
But I didn't think that this was that type of show, but it's fine with me. I'm okay with
or
it.
maybe there's someone out there that has had the exact same experience and figured out what it was. Maybe there's an expert out there who is really well versed in this stuff. But I'm simply trying to kind of put a pebble in your shoe to maybe like cross-examine it a little and think like, maybe there's reason to be a little skeptical.
I already do. I really don't even believe them, but they happen to me. There's a bunch of them that happen to me, and I chalk it up to like I was probably just, hallucinating or like dream state or something. But it happened and it's unexplainable to me, and I think it's interesting. That's not exactly what determined my like spirituality and everything, but that's a whole different ballpark, which has to do. That's another question I have for you. What do you have against hallucinogenics, dude? Why are you so against those? You make them sound like
I have absolutely nothing against hallucinogenics. I do have a bit of an issue with giving drugs to minors, which is why I brought that up with the last caller.
Definitely, yeah. Don't give drugs to minors. No, don't do that.
As far as trying hallucinogenics, like, you want to do that, knock yourself out. I simply think that when you take a substance that puts your mind in an altered state, there should be a little bit more reason than usual to question the experiences that mental state produces. So if I'm in an altered mental state and I see something, I'm going to be a little more skeptical afterwards because I know what was in my body.
Tired. Even if you had a little too much caffeine, maybe that could always happen.
Or you could be perfectly
I like
healthy.
to think that I know myself well enough to know when my body is doing that and when something supernatural or natural is happening.
Well, how do you know that it's supernatural or natural? Because you can be in a perfectly healthy, well-rested state, and you could still have like a focal aware seizure where it's like a very small part of your brain is targeted and you're not even aware that it happened. You're not even aware that you had a seizure, but you experienced or hallucinated or saw something weird. And like that could happen to any of us.
Yeah, the mind is a crazy, very complex thing, which is another thing for me that proves that there's something more to this than that, But for you, it just sounds like something that's just.
I don't know how there's any link there from the mind is complicated to therefore there's something more. Steven, we really appreciate the call. We got 2 more callers that we got to get to, but we will be here every
Well,
Tuesday
Thomas,
night, man.
I want you to do a seance and sign your name in blood over to Satan, to the devil, to prove that you don't give a shit like that. There's nothing gonna happen, no ghosties. So you can do that.
I will
there, man.
I will actually one up you.
Get it on video, and I will watch that video, and I'll share that video.
Absolutely. I will actually one up you.
Thank you.
I went camping last Friday the 13th, and I made out an entire list of all of the most unlucky things that you could possibly do from countries around the world, things that bring you bad luck, superstitions, you name it. And I knocked every single one of them off the list one by one. I'm supposed to be dead right now because of the unluckiness of like there's things that you do that, you know, it's like, what happens if you do this? Dude. You're gonna die. And
no, don't die.
No, but it's like every single one, like that is how little credence I give to this stuff. And it's I'm not disrespecting people who believe in it.
Put your finger, look up how to do it, and do it on video. And
I'm also on a quest to become the most cursed man in the world. I have an ongoing thing.
You've been doing that for a while
right now. Where if you want
you for sure.
If you want to place a voodoo curse on me, or you know, any kind of other curse.
What's your last name?
Westbrook.
What's your last name?
Thomas Westbrook.
What?
Westbrook.
WEST.
BROOK. Yep.
All right, Steven. We got to move on, man. Thanks for the call.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas Westbrook.
Go for it. Knock yourself out. Curse away.